Welcome to Teaching Mastery Academy, the podcast that equips course creators with the tools, insights, and strategies to teach with confidence, create real impact, and become the go-to experts in their industries. I'm your host, Francesca Hudson, CEO of the Classic High School Teacher and Teaching Mastery Academy. If you've ever felt that your content is powerful, but you're not reaching your audience the way you want, or if you're ready to master the art of teaching and elevate your courses to new heights, you're in the right place, my friends. Each episode, we'll dive into the science of how people learn, explore innovative teaching methods, and uncover the best ways to transform your knowledge into engaging, life-changing experiences for your students. Whether you're just getting started or you've been in the game for years, I'm here to help you craft lessons that resonate, connect with your audience on a deeper level, and ultimately create the abundance and the success that you deserve. Are you ready to become the best teacher in your field? Then let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Teaching Mastery Academy podcast. I'm your host, Francesca, and I am beyond excited to have you here today. If you're tuning in for the very first time, let me give you a quick introduction. I'm Francesca Hudson, the founder of Teaching Mastery Academy, where I help emerging course creators like you become master teachers. My goal is to help you bridge the gap between what you know and how you teach it, so you can create courses that not only engage your students, but truly transform their lives. We are talking about life-changing courses that is in your power right now. So today's episode is a really special one, and it's all about something that every course creator should be striving for: transformation. We're going to dive into how you can go beyond simply delivering information and actually create real lasting change for your students. Because that's how we all become teachers in the first place, right? We have a skill that we want to teach and empower others with to change their lives. And that's all about transformation. Because let's be honest, there are a lot of online courses out there, but not all of them deliver that deep, impactful transformation that students are really craving. And that's where you can stand out, my friend. I'm sure as a course creator, you've probably asked yourself, how do I make sure my students get the results they're after? How do I ensure that what I'm teaching actually sticks and makes a difference in their lives? That's the essence of what we're talking about today. Transformation isn't just about giving your students a bunch of content and crossing our fingers and hoping they absorb it and then moving on into the sunset. It's about guiding them through a journey where they leave your course feeling like a different person, more knowledgeable, more confident, or more skilled in a way that solves the problem they initially came to you with. And here's the truth, my friend. The reason most courses don't make a lasting impact is because they focus on the wrong things. They're built around information overload or cramming everything the creator knows into a few lessons. But when you shift your focus to delivering transformation, your entire approach changes. Your students go from passive listeners to active learners who experience real growth. By the end of today's episode, you're going to understand the core elements that make a course truly impactful. We're going to talk about how you can get crystal clear on the outcomes you want for your students, design lessons that lead them step by step towards those outcomes, and deliver real value that goes beyond what they expect. So whether you're creating your very first course or you've already launched a few and want to make them better, then this episode is for you. So stick around, because we're about to dive into what it really takes to make your course transformative. Ready? Let's get started. When we talk about creating impact in a course, we're not just talking about delivering information or content. Sure, your students need to learn new things from you, but the real value of your course lies in how the information changes them. Think about it. Anyone can read a book or watch a YouTube tutorial and get information, right? But as a course creator, your job is to guide your students towards actual transformation. Impact is about making sure that when students finish your course, they're not just walking away with knowledge, but with new skills, confidence, or even a shift in mindset. It's about creating an experience that leaves a lasting change in their lives. For example, if you're teaching a course on public speaking, impact isn't just that your students learn the structure of a great speech, it's that they're actually able to stand up in front of a room and deliver the speech with confidence. That's the difference between just providing content and creating impact. And here's the key. Impact is what sets apart a good course from a life-changing course. And this, I'm underlining that, life-changing. It's what makes your students feel like their time, their energy and money were well spent. It's the reason they'll not only finish your course, but also recommend it to others. Those testimonials that are like gold. And more importantly, it's the reason they'll take what they've learned and apply it to their real lives long after your course is over. Let's talk a bit more about why transformation should be the cornerstone of any course that you create. The truth is, people invest in courses because they have a problem that they want solved or a goal they want to achieve. Whether that's mastering a skill, gaining confidence, or starting a new career, they're looking for real, tangible results. And transformation is the fulfillment of that promise. Think of it this way. When someone signs up for your course, they're at point A. They're struggling with something, maybe it's public speaking, confidence, or understanding a complex subject. Your course is the bridge that takes your student to point B, where your student's problem is solved or they've achieved their goal. That's the transformation, right? But if your course simply throws information at them without a clear path to achieving that transformation, your students will feel lost and they may never reach point B. But when you intentionally design your course to deliver step-by-step progress, you're guiding them through a journey. And that's the key, step-by-step progress. And when they reach that point of transformation, that's where the magic happens. Here's why this matters so much for you as a course creator. When you deliver real transformation, you create loyal students. People who walk away from your course feeling like it's changed their life in some way are the ones who will stick with you for the long haul. They'll be the first to sign up for your future offers. They'll tell their friends and their colleagues about your course, and they'll give you glowing testimonials that make selling future courses so much easier. These students become your biggest advocates, spreading the word organically because they genuinely believe in what you offer. You're not just selling a product, you're creating a relationship with your students. And relationships built on transformation and trust are incredibly valuable. One way to think about it is this. Creating impact builds momentum. Every time you help someone achieve a transformation, you're building a reputation that says, this course delivers, this course gets results. This is what you want your students to be saying when they finish your course. I'm not the same person I was before. I'm more confident. I have new skills. I've grown in ways I didn't expect. That's the kind of impact that makes your course not just good, but indispensable. And let's not forget the emotional side of this. When you create impact, you're not just helping students achieve a tangible goal, you're also impacting them on a deeper emotional level. They'll remember that feeling of success, that aha moment when something finally clicks, and they'll associate that feeling with your course and your brand. This emotional connection is huge. It's what makes students feel seen and valued. They'll remember how your course made them feel, and that emotional experience is often what compels them to stay engaged, complete the course, and then come back for more. So as you're building out your course, ask yourself, what transformation am I promising? How can I create an experience within my course that not only delivers content, but changes my students' lives? Because when you start with transformation in mind, everything else, your lessons, your structure, your value, falls into place. Now that we've talked about the importance of creating impact through transformation, let's dive into how we can make that happen, starting with one of the most critical elements. Do you know what it is? Clarity and outcomes. Here's the thing. If you don't know exactly what your students should achieve by the end of your course, how can they? Without clear outcomes, it's impossible to measure success or even know if they're on the right path. Imagine going on a road trip without a destination in mind. Sure, you might stumble upon something interesting along the way, but chances are you'll just get lost. It's the same for your students. They need a roadmap to guide them from point A to point B, and that roadmap starts with clearly defined outcomes. So ask yourself, What transformation do you want your students to experience? And more importantly, what does that transformation look like? Outcomes shouldn't be vague or abstract. So, life changing, it's too vague. In what way does your life change? The outcome should be crystal clear so that both you and your students know exactly what success looks like. You're managing expectations. So, for example, let's say you're teaching a course on confidence. It's not enough to say that your outcome for students to feel more confident. That's too vague. Confidence looks different for everyone. And if your students don't have a clear picture of what they're working towards, it's hard for them to know if they've truly achieved it. So, what does confidence look like in practice? Well, maybe by the end of your course, your students should be able to deliver a 5-minute presentation to a small group without hesitation. Or maybe they should feel comfortable leading a team meeting. These are tangible, measurable outcomes that give both you and your students a very clear destination. This is where the SMART framework comes in handy. If you've ever felt like your course goals were too broad or too hard to measure, SMART goals, and I say that in capitals, SMART, SMART goals can help you break them down into clear, actionable steps. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So let's walk through how this framework works when applied to your course outcomes. And we'll start with specific. So, what exactly do you want your students to accomplish? Instead of saying students will be confident, a more specific goal might be students will be able to deliver a 5-minute presentation on a topic of their choice. You're really niching down, in other words. The second one is measurable. How will you know if your students have achieved this goal? A measurable goal might be, for example, students will deliver the presentation to a group of 5 peers and they will receive feedback indicating that they appeared confident and engaging. It's just an example. But you need to have some sort of a challenge that they have to complete, which becomes the measurable goal. The third one is achievable. Is this outcome realistic within the scope of your course? It's important to make sure that you're setting goals that are challenging but doable. If you're teaching a beginner level course, you wouldn't expect students to give a TED talk by the end, but a small group presentation, definitely achievable. The fourth letter is R for relevant. So does this goal align with the transformation that your course promises? You need to make sure that every outcome directly supports the overall transformation you want for your students. In the case of a confidence course that we're using, it's public speaking or leading meetings are relevant and directly tied to boosting confidence. So the lessons and the homework and the tasks that you give throughout your course need to be relevant to the end objective, in other words. And the last letter is T for time bound. When should this goal be completed? Giving a timeline creates urgency and structure. So in this case, you might say by the end of Module 4, students will have delivered a 5-minute presentation. By using the SMART framework, you can take a vague outcome like students will feel more confident and turn it into something concrete like by the end of Module 4, students will deliver a 5-minute presentation to a group of their peers and receive feedback indicating they appeared confident and well prepared. Now, that's something you and your students can measure. Now, why is this so important? Well, without clear outcomes, students can feel like they're drifting aimlessly through your course. They might be learning new concepts, but without a clear understanding of what they're working towards, they won't feel the same sense of progress and accomplishment. And that can lead to frustration and even dropout rates, which you don't want. Because remember, at the end of the day, we want to be able to deliver those life-changing results. Clear outcomes give your students something to strive for and a way to measure their success along the way. Every time they hit one of those outcomes, it's like a mini victory that keeps them motivated to keep pushing forward. And remember, transformation isn't just about reaching the final goal. It's about celebrating the small wins along the way that lead to that bigger change. For you as the course creator, clear outcomes also help you stay focused. It's easy to get caught up in trying to pack your course full of content and show how much you know, but if you always keep those outcomes in mind, it's easier to trim away the excess and focus on what's truly essential to helping your students succeed. So let's run through an example. Say you're creating a course on leadership skills for new managers. One of your goals might be students will become better leaders. Okay, well that's fine, but what does it actually mean? How can you make it clearer? If we look at the SMART framework, you can refine that outcome into something like this. By the end of the course, students will lead a 10-minute team meeting where they outline a project plan, assign roles, and provide constructive feedback to team members. They'll receive feedback from their peers, indicating that they communicated clearly and demonstrated leadership. So, super specific. Lead a 10-minute meeting, outline a project plan, assign roles, and provide feedback. Then we've got M for measurable. Feedback from peers that indicate clear communication and demonstrated leadership. So we're getting really, really niched here. Now we're up to A for achievable. A 10-minute meeting is something manageable for new managers. It's realistic. And then R for relevant. Leading a meeting is directly tied to improving leadership skills. We're keeping it relevant to the outcomes of the course. And T for time bound. This happens by the end of the course. See how much clearer that is? Now your students know exactly what success looks like and can measure their progress as they move through the course. By crafting clear, SMART outcomes, you're giving your students a roadmap to success. You're not just teaching them skills, you're guiding them towards measurable results. Clear outcomes help students stay motivated, engaged, and on track, and they ensure that the transformation you've promised is something they can actively achieve. Remember, transformation doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you design your course with clarity and purpose. So as you plan out your next course, or as you review your current course, ask yourself, what specific outcomes am I promising my students? How can I make those outcomes measurable and achievable? And how can I use those outcomes to keep my students engaged and on the path to real transformation? Now that we've covered the importance of clear outcomes, let's talk about how to design your lessons so they actually guide your students towards those outcomes. This is where we take that big transformation you want for your students and break it down into smaller, digestible steps. Think of each lesson as a building block, leading your students step by step towards their final destination. The key here is my favourite word, scaffolding. If you're not familiar with that term, scaffolding is an educational strategy where you provide the right level of support to help students grasp new concepts before you gradually remove that support as they gain confidence. In other words, you start with the basics and build up to more complex ideas. So by the end of the course, your students are fully equipped to apply what they've learned independently. Let's say, for example, you're teaching a course on social media marketing. You wouldn't start by having your students run a full-blown ad campaign right from the get-go, right? First, you might teach them the fundamentals of identifying their target audience. Then, once they've mastered that, you move on to creating compelling content. And so each lesson builds on the one before it, which is creating a natural progression that makes it easier for your students to follow along and absorb what they're learning. This gradual build-up not only helps students retain information, but it also gives them the confidence to move forward because they're constantly achieving small wins along the way. Those wins serve as momentum to carry them through the more challenging parts of your course. And when you structure your lessons with this in mind, you're not just throwing information at your students, you're guiding them through the transformational journey. Of course, the structure of your lessons is just one piece of the puzzle. If you want your students to stay motivated and make it to the end of your course, you need to keep them engaged. And the more engaged your students are, the more likely they are to achieve the transformation you promised. So how do you keep your students actively engaged? That is the universal question. Well, the answer lies in interactive elements. So passive learning, where students are just sitting and listening, really leads to deep understanding. Instead, you want to give them opportunities to apply what they've learned. And here are a few ways you can create interactive experiences in your course. And I've got something for everybody, whether you have got an evergreen course or you're teaching your course live, or you're an introvert or an extrovert. I've got something for everybody. So the first one is quizzes. And quizzes are a great way to test students' understanding and reinforce key concepts. But instead of just making them a dry assessment, consider adding fun or challenging questions that make the students think critically. The second one is discussions. So encourage your students to share their thoughts and experiences in the form of discussion prompts. And this is especially helpful if you have a community component or discussion board tied to your course, because peer learning is incredibly powerful because students can see how others are applying the same concepts in different ways, and they can cheer each other on, they can help answer each other's questions, and it's just a great learning environment. The third one is case studies. So case studies allow students to see real-world examples of the principles you're teaching in action. Ask your students to analyse a scenario and come up with a solution based on what they've learned so far. And this not only deepens understanding, but it also helps your students to connect theory to practice. And my fourth way are hands-on projects. So wherever possible, give your students hands-on assignments that require them to put what they've learned into action. If you're teaching a writing course, for example, have your students write and submit a piece for feedback. If you're teaching marketing, have them create a campaign mock-up. These practical applications reinforce learning and give students a real sense of accomplishment. Another powerful way to make your lessons more engaging is through storytelling. Humans are wired to respond to stories. It's how we make sense of the world. When you use storytelling in your lessons, you're creating an emotional connection that makes the content memorable and relatable. Let me give you an example. If you're teaching a course on entrepreneurship, you could share the story of a small business owner who faced the same challenges your students are facing. Maybe they struggled with imposter syndrome, or maybe they failed the first time they tried to launch their product. As you walk your students through this person's journey, you can weave in key lessons showing how they overcame obstacles and achieved real success. Storytelling also helps to humanize your teaching, making you more relatable as an instructor. When students see that you understand their struggles and challenges, they're more likely to trust you and stay engaged with the material. Plus, stories stick in their minds well long after they've completed the lesson. And then there's gamification, which is another incredible tool for keeping students engaged. Gamification involves incorporating game-like elements into your course to make learning fun and motivating. This could be something as simple as awarding points for completing tasks, or it could be more complex, like creating challenges that students need to overcome to unlock the next module. Let's say you add a leaderboard for students to track their progress, or you give them badges for completing certain milestones, like, for example, finishing a module or mastering a specific skill. These elements add a layer of excitement and encouragement for your students, no matter what age. All students of all ages love games, to keep pushing forward, especially when they can see their progress in real time. For example, in a course on leadership, you could create a simulation where students face different leadership challenges, and each decision they make gives them points or unlocks new scenarios. By the end of the course, they not only feel a sense of achievement, but they've also applied their knowledge in a way that's interactive and fun. Both storytelling and gamification tap into the emotional side of learning, which makes students invested in their journey. When students are emotionally invested, they're more likely to engage with the material, complete the course, and most importantly, achieve the transformation you promised. So to recap this segment on lesson design, here's what you need to keep in mind. Number 1, structure your lessons like building blocks, with each one leading students closer to the final transformation. Step 2 is use scaffolding to break down complex concepts into manageable progressive steps so students gain confidence as they learn. Step 3 is to keep students engaged by incorporating interactive elements like quizzes, discussions, case studies, and hands-on projects. Active participation leads to deeper learning. Step 4 is leverage the power of storytelling to create an emotional connection with your students and make your lessons more memorable. And step 5 is add elements of gamification to motivate students and create fun, dynamic learning experience. When you design your lessons with these principles in mind, you're setting your students up for success. Not only will they be more engaged, but they'll also feel more confident as they move through your course, bringing them closer to the transformation you promised. All right, we've talked about structuring your lessons for maximum impact and keeping students engaged. We've Now let's dive into one of the most important aspects of course creation, providing real value. This is where you go beyond delivering content and truly leave a lasting impression on your students. So, what do I mean by real value? It's about over delivering, which for me is easy because my love language is gift giving. So I am constantly coming up with ways to over deliver, to give, to shower people with gifts. And so think about this in an educational context, in your course context. You want to be giving students more than they expect. Think of it as adding those little extra touches that takes your students' experience from good to unforgettable. People love surprises, especially when it comes to learning. And when you go the extra mile, your students will remember you for it. They'll walk away feeling like they've got far more than what they paid for, which builds loyalty, it increases word of mouth referrals, and it really enhances your reputation. So, how do you over deliver? Well, one way is providing extra resources that complement your lessons. These could be bonus videos, additional reading materials, or deep dives into specific topics. For example, if you're teaching a course on public speaking, offer a bonus lesson on body language or a downloadable checklist for speech preparation. These extras don't have to be huge, but they should be valuable and directly help students on their journey. You can also offer personalised feedback if your course is set up to do so. So, if you're teaching a writing course, for example, you could provide students with feedback on their essays or assignments. And even if you can't offer that one on one feedback for everyone, consider group feedback sessions or recorded video feedback on select submissions. This personalised touch can make students feel more connected to you and invested in the learning process. The goal here is to give students tangible takeaways, something that they can use in their real lives or careers after the course ends. This could be worksheets, templates, tools, or checklists that they can refer back to long after they've completed your course. For example, if you're teaching a course on project management, you might offer a project plan template that they can use for their next big project. By providing these resources, you're extending the value of your course far beyond the final module, ensuring that your students can continue their transformation on their own. Another critical component of providing value is helping students track their progress. When students can clearly see how far they've come, they're more likely to stay motivated and committed to reaching the end goal. It's like having a fitness tracker that shows how many steps you've taken. It keeps you engaged and it keeps you pushing towards your target. So, how do you track progress in your course? Well, one way is through assessments like quizzes and tests or even practical assignments that measure how well students are understanding and applying the material. This doesn't have to feel like a traditional test. You can make assignments or assessments fun and interactive while still providing valuable insights into student progress. You can also include reflection prompts throughout the course. So after each module or lesson, ask your students to reflect on what they've learned and how they're applying it. This encourages them to think critically about their own growth and reinforces key concepts. You could even provide them with a learning journal where they can track their thoughts, their challenges, and progress. Another method is through peer reviews. If your course includes collaborative projects or group discussions, have students review each other's work and provide constructive feedback. Peer learning is powerful because students often learn just as much from critiquing others as they do from receiving feedback on their own work. By offering these feedback loops, you're giving your students tangible proof of their growth. They can see that they're not the same person they were when they started your course. And that sense of progress is incredibly motivating. It gives them the push they need to keep going, even when the material can get challenging, because it will. If they're learning new things in your course, there probably will be moments where they'll feel like it's too hard, or they'll put it off, or they need that little bit of extra motivation to keep going. Lastly, one of the most valuable things you can offer your students is a supportive learning community. Online learning can sometimes feel very isolating. Students are sitting alone at their computers and it's easy to feel disconnected. But when you create a community space where students can share their successes, struggles, and progress, it completely transforms the experience. A community can take many forms. It could be a private Facebook group, or it could be a discussion forum on your course platform, or even live group coaching sessions. The key is to create a space where students feel comfortable interacting with each other and with you. When students share their wins, it inspires others to keep going. When they share their challenges, they realise they're not alone and they can offer each other support. And this kind of peer learning is another form of value that enriches the learning experience. You'll often find that your students have different perspectives and they can learn from each other just as much as they learn from you. For example, if you're running a course on digital marketing, some students might have experience in social media, while others are stronger in email marketing. In a community setting, they can share insights and they can help each other fill in the gaps. And here's the best part. When you create a thriving community, you're not just adding value during the course, you're building relationships that last beyond the course. Students stay connected, continue learning from each other, and become part of your larger network. This sense of belonging and ongoing support is a huge differentiator and one that students will value tremendously. So let's recap how you can provide real value in your course. Step 1 is to over-deliver by offering extra resources, bonus lessons, or personalised feedback that enhances the student experience. Step 2 is to give students tangible takeaways like worksheets or templates or tools that they can use long after the course ends to continue their transformation. Step 3 is to help students track their progress through assessments, reflection prompts, and peer reviews. Providing feedback loops lets students see their growth and stay motivated. And step 4 is to build a supportive learning community where students can share their experiences, help each other, and form lasting connections. When you focus on providing real value, you're not just delivering a course, you're creating an experience that goes above and beyond. This is what turns a one-time course into a life-changing transformation, and it's what will keep students coming back for more. So let's change tack slightly. I want you to imagine your students have completed your course now. Now what? The real question is, how do you ensure that the transformation you've promised continues after the course ends? This is where a lot of course creators drop the ball. It's tempting to think that once your students finish the final module, the journey is complete. But the truth is that transformation is an ongoing process. To really help your students succeed, you need to equip them with the tools to apply what they've learned in the real world. One of the best ways to do this is by offering follow-up support. Think of it as a bridge that helps your students move from learning to doing. For example, you can send follow-up emails that reinforce key concepts, you could share additional resources, or even provide action steps that students can take in the weeks and months after completing the course. These emails can act as gentle nudges, reminding your students to stay on track and continue applying what they've learned. Another good option is offering ongoing alumni access to a learning community or a forum where students can stay connected. This gives them the space to ask questions, share their progress, and get advice even after the course is over. You could also host periodic Q&A sessions where past students can jump on a call or webinar with you and discuss any challenges they're facing as they apply the material. Let's say you've taught a course on digital marketing. As the course ends, your students are out in the world running campaigns. Offering them a way to check in, ask for advice, or troubleshoot problems is incredibly valuable because it helps them feel supported during that critical application phase. And when students feel like they have access to continued guidance, they're more likely to take action, which leads to lasting transformation. Another key part of ensuring transformation is to encourage your students to keep growing, even after they've completed your course. Transformation doesn't just stop at the end of one course. It's an ongoing process of learning and evolving and applying new skills, and we do this in our life in all areas. So one way to do this is by offering advanced courses or additional resources that build on the foundation your students have already established. For example, if you've taught an introductory course on leadership, you might offer a follow-up course that dives deeper into advanced leadership strategies or specific areas like conflict resolution or emotional intelligence. Not only does this keep your students engaged, but it also gives them a clear next step in their own growth journey. You can also create ongoing resources that help students stay sharp after they've completed your course. This might include regular content updates, newsletters, or even a monthly membership or subscription or coaching group where you explore new topics related to the course material. When students have access to a stream of new content, they're continuously reminded of their progress and are more likely to keep developing those skills over time. But transformation isn't just about your students. It's also about you as a course creator. Just as you encourage your students to keep growing, it's really important to apply the same mindset to your own teaching. And the best way to do that is through feedback loops. So once students have finished your course, ask for feedback. What did they love? What could be improved? Where do they feel stuck or need more support? This feedback is pure gold because it gives you insight into what's working and what's not, and it allows you to continuously improve your course and the experience you're providing. Not to mention, you can get some fabulous testimonials from this process. So, for example, if multiple students mention that a particular module was confusing, you know that that's an area that you need to refine for future iterations. Or maybe students loved the interactive elements but wanted more practical examples. So, this kind of feedback can help you adjust and evolve your course over time. So, how do you ensure that transformation lasts after the course ends? Well, here's my recap. So, step one is help students apply their knowledge by offering follow up support, such as alumni access to a community or your follow up emails or future Q&A sessions. This helps your students continue their journey and apply what they've learned in real world situations. Step two is to encourage continuous growth by offering advanced courses or ongoing resources that build on that foundation you've already established. Keep your students engaged with new learning opportunities and future sales for you. And step three is use feedback loops to improve your course, because we should be all approaching life with a beginner's mindset, right? We've all got something to learn. So ask your students for feedback on what worked and what didn't, and use that information to really refine and enhance future versions of your course. Continuous improvement helps you deliver far better transformations over time. Remember, transformation doesn't end when the course does. It's an ongoing process. By staying connected with your students and supporting their continued growth, you're ensuring that the knowledge they gained translates into lasting change. And that's the kind of impact that turns students into lifelong learners and loyal advocates. Before we wrap up today's episode, let's do a quick recap of the main takeaways. We've covered a lot of ground, so let's bring it all together in a nice, neat, tidy bow. First, we talked about the importance of crafting clear outcomes. Your students need a roadmap to success, and those outcomes are their guide. By being specific, measurable, and achievable, you can ensure that both you and your students know exactly what success looks like. Next, we discussed designing lessons for impact. It's all about structuring your course like building blocks, with each lesson bringing your students one step closer to that big transformation. Engagement is key here. Use interactive elements, storytelling, and even gamification to keep students motivated and on track. Then we touched on providing real value, going beyond the basics and over-delivering by offering tangible takeaways. Tracking student progress and creating a supportive learning community sets your course apart and leads to lasting transformation. And then finally, we covered ensuring transformation after the course ends. It's not just about what happens during the course, but how you can help your students apply what they've learned in the real world. Offering alumni support, encourage continuous learning, and always seek feedback so you can keep improving your course and delivering even better results. Now, here is my challenge to you. Take a step back and evaluate your current course or a course idea that you have. Are you designing it with real transformation in mind? Are your outcomes clear, your lessons engaging, and your value undeniable? If not, what small changes, not talking big, just small, what small changes can you make right now to start steering it in that direction? I've got something just for you. Click on the show notes and register as a VIP on the waitlist for my upcoming free training on how to teach with real impact. course. This masterclass will be packed with actionable tips and strategies to help you create courses that deliver real transformation. You can find the link in the show notes. And if you sign up now, you will be the first to be notified when doors open and we start taking registrations. Remember, this is a free training that I'm offering, so it's incredibly valuable. I know that there's going to be something in this training for you that you are going to be able to apply to your courses immediately. So sign up to the VIP waitlist now, and I will share more details about opening dates very, very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Teaching Mastery Academy podcast. I hope you got a ton of value from it and that you're feeling inspired to create courses that truly transform your students' lives. Until next time, keep creating, keep teaching, and keep making a difference, my friend. I'm Francesca, and I'll see you in the next episode. That's a wrap for today's episode of Teaching Mastery Academy. I hope you walked away with actionable insights and new ideas that will elevate your teaching and help you create courses that truly resonate with your students. If you enjoyed this episode and want to keep the momentum going, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a beat. And if you found value in today's conversation, I'd love it if you could leave a 5-star review. It helps other course creators like you discover the show and join this amazing community of educators. For more tips, resources, and exclusive content, make sure to click on the link in my show notes. I've got a ton of freebies and tools waiting for you. You can also follow me on Instagram at Teaching Mastery Academy for daily inspiration and behind-the-scenes updates. Remember, my friend, becoming a master teacher is a journey, and I'm here with you every step of the way. Until next time, keep teaching, keep creating, and keep changing lives.